Oh boy, so yes, the review embargo has been lifted for Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, which means there are tons of press and critic reviews out right now. We're going to be talking about all of them, including the good and the very bad. So yes, if we head over to Metacritic.com, we can see the Metascore sitting out at 63 right here. 16 critic reviews are out right now. So it's giving a good indication as to what is going on with this game. There are tons of different opinions about Dark Alliance. There's some good reviews in there, but there are some really bad reviews in there for this game as well. It's kind of reminding me of another game that came out more recently, Biomutant, which is sitting at a 66 Metascore right now. And despite a lot of the hate for Biomutant, it did find sort of a cult following and a hardcore audience. So I'm curious to see if the same thing happens with Dark Alliance. So let's dive into these reviews right now, both the good and the bad. So let's do this. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here, hoping good. And we're going to start out with this review right here from PCGamer.com. It says that they are giving the game an 82 right here, and overall it seems like they enjoyed the game. Well, again, we'll get into more of the negative reviews in just a moment, but as you can see, these shots look beautiful here. They talk about the actual world itself starting out. They go on to say this: Icewind Dale is a chilly frozen tundra and one of the most storied and evocative regions of Roran. Fans of Black Isle's classic Infinity Engine RPG of the same name will get an extra kick out of returning to this frosty realm of ice dragons, snowbound mountain passes, and deep dwarven halls. It's Dungeons & Dragons at its best and enjoyably dramatic backdrop for an action RPG. So again, overall, this is starting out really good. They seem to be really enjoying it. Furthermore, they say this: the world is immense in scale and layered with history, and it's one of the most vibrant, vivid depictions of the Forgotten Realms I've seen in a game. Dark Alliance is a linear action game, so you don't get to explore the world as thoroughly as you would in an RPG, but what's there is stunning to look at. Yeah, that's the only thing. I do wish that it was truly open world, but what you get here is you go to your base camp. It's going to act like your hub space. You can hang out with your players and stuff like that, and then you could branch off to the 21 different missions, which are going to include different acts, and of course end with an epic boss battle. Hopefully it's an epic boss battle. I have yet to actually get into this game myself, but we're going to get into some of the different opinions again with the negativity with this game, because some reviewers are saying no, you know, the boss battles are not good. The AI is terrible, but let's keep going with this review right here. There's some positives with actually how they handle the 4 playable characters and how you unlock things in the game. So let's take a look here. They go on to say this: there are 4 playable characters, each bringing a unique flavor to combat. Drow Ranger Driz is fast and athletic, carving up enemies with 2 twin scimitars and sicking his Spirit Panther Gwynhover on them. Now, Axe-swinging Dwarf King Brunner is the tank of the party, able to soak up huge amounts of damage and draw aggro by taunting. Wolfgar is a barbarian who can whip himself up into a berserker rage and deal extra damage with a giant hammer. And then there's Catti-Brie, who is a bouncy, nimble archer who can attack from a distance. The flow and feel of the combat differs greatly between the characters, and I love how levels unlock with one character are unlocked for the others, meaning you can experiment with each hero without having to redo parts of the game. And that's something that I absolutely love with this game, is how you don't have to keep replaying the story just to play with a different character. So I have to say kudos to the dev team for that one, making that decision. Now let's talk about the enemy variety and the actual combat itself. So let's go ahead and dive into that one right now, shall we? Now, the review goes on to say the following: the enemy variety combined with the ability to block, dodge, and parry gives Dark Alliance surprising depth. It feels fantastic too. The combat is chunky as well and tactile, and carving through enemies with a big heavy weapon is as satisfying as it should be. Furthermore, they say this: you can bash through crowds of weaker enemies without much thought, but stronger foes demand a degree of patience, locking on, rolling away from attacks, blocking just as they strike to parry. It's a heady mix of crowd control and more considered methodical one-on-one duels, and it works brilliantly if you can keep up with the frenetic pace. That's really interesting. You know, I've seen, before this game has even come out, what I have seen from the audience watching this game is that people feel like the person playing it really matters. So it does look more methodical. There are combos with this game. And again, it seems like you really have to work on that combo system as a team, by the way. As you can see, it's building up in the top screen here by your health bar and your stamina. So you have some things to consider as you are, combating enemies. Now, this game is heavily focused on co-op as well. You can play in single player, but this is what they had to say about that. They go on to say, Dark Alliance has been designed with co-op in mind. The 4 heroes have MMO-style abilities that complement each other, including stat, boosting buffs, and healing spells. You can also trigger team attacks on a single enemy. However, it's entirely possible to play and enjoy the game solo. I played through a good chunk of the story mode on my own, and I had a great time with it, so that's good news. You can choose from a number of difficulty settings, the lowest of which makes playing solo a breeze. Nudge it up a notch, and you have to think a little more tactically in battles. Higher still, and the game becomes genuinely difficult, especially in the late game dungeon levels where the enemies are stronger and more numerous. Now, again, we're going to get into other opinions here in just a moment, because I've heard that to get up to higher challenge tier levels, you have to play co-op. Like, this game is always encouraging you to play co-op. So let's keep going. Now, PC Gamer did have some things to say on the negative side of things, so let's dive into that and see what they had to say regarding the negativity of the game. They go on to say the following: a few things did annoy me though. If you're fighting an enemy next to a ledge, they'll be magically prevented from falling off by an invisible wall, but you'll just keep edging forward as you swing your weapon and eventually fall through them and off the ledge yourself. Wow, really? And it says falling doesn't kill you, but it's still frustrating. The readability of the bigger, more chaotic battles can be poor too, with so much going on and so much clutter on the screen that you can lose track of who you're fighting or miss otherwise clearly telegraphed attacks. They also had some UI issues, including enemy health parts disappearing, in one level. A portal stopped working, leaving me stranded on a floating island with no way to kill myself and warp back to the last checkpoint. That's really bad. Like, that's a really bad bug, for sure. That sort of thing hopefully is patched, which, by the way, if you did not hear, there is a day 1 patch rolling out for this game. It's a big download. It's about 15 gigabytes, roughly. We'll see what that can actually do for the game, but it does say this for the patch notes. It's very generic. It says day 1 patch will include balancing improvements, various bug fixes, and then a hot fix. So that's light on information, but again, we'll see if people's opinions change after that day 1 patch, but I wouldn't hold your breath there. Now, IGN Italia also did a review. They gave the game a 7 right here, and we're going to dive into what they had to say a little bit. It's interesting reading a review that's kind of like translated, so this is going to be fun. This is going to be a good one. Says, in some way, however, the clear experience in theories and techniques of creating dungeons and the like counteracts the directly unfamiliarity of the world of video games of Wizards of the Coast, given that it takes just a few minutes to notice a series of naivety that greedily gnaw at on the undisputed qualities of Dark Alliance. The first, all too evident, is the artificial intelligence of the enemies, regardless of the selected difficulty level. So they do not like the AI in this game, and I've heard that several times throughout these reviews, that the AI is very lackluster with this game, and overall they gave it a 7. But let's keep going through the reviews, because we have some more opinions from shacknews.com as well. They go on to say, for as exciting and frenetic as the combat is in Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, the experience is a bit hindered by bugs. So AI and bugs so far are the biggest problems with this game. It says, I frequently experience a bug where upon killing an enemy, their body would ragdoll to ridiculous effect. This meant goblins soaring high into the sky or darting off in random directions after being killed. It didn't functionally damper the experience, but it surely broke the immersion on several occasions. They also experienced a handful of crashes while playing the game on Steam. Though there weren't many hitches or frame rate stutters, there were instances where I was playing and the game would just completely crash out of the blue. Unfortunately, this caused me to lose substantial progress on more than one occasion. Wow. See, again, these type of glitches, in my opinion, are just not acceptable, and it really does, I hate to hear that that is happening with the game. However, they did finally say this. They say Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance delivers a solid D&D adventure with exciting combat and a slew of monsters to take down. Though my experience was a bit dulled by crashes and some minor bugs, it certainly didn't ruin the game for me. Dark Alliance fits in nicely in the pantheon of Dungeons & Dragons games. Hey, so, you know, that ended on a pretty good note there, despite the problems, the bugs, the issues that the game does have. Now, thegamer.com was a bit more harsh with their opinion with this game. Let's see what they had to say. They go on to say, Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance review. Drizzt deserves better. Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance looks like the perfect co-op RPG for Drizzt fans, but the bugs, floaty combat, and bad netcode get in the way. So let's see. Yeah. You know, a lot of these reviewers, from what I am seeing, have been experiencing the game for the most part in single player. It sounds like things change once you hop online, and that was definitely true with a little game called, you may remember it, Outriders. Now they go on to say this Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance looks like everything a Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance reboot should be. The hack and slash combat has been updated with combo heavy moves and flashing animations. Instead of repetitive levels, the new version features complex dungeons filled with plenty of secrets to discover. And most importantly, you actually get to play as the companions of Hall, Forgotten Realms' most famous characters. But while that all sounds great on paper, Dark Alliance misses the mark in almost every conceivable way. Combat is shallow, the level design is frustrating, and poor netcode makes online multiplayer practically unplayable. Dark Alliance should be a grindable co-op RPG, but it fails so many quality checks that I find it unworthy of its own title. Ouch. Now that is rough to hear. And again, you can see how this, one paragraph is counterattacking, I should say, the other reviews that we were just highlighting here previously, the more positive reviews. But let's get into this nitty-gritty, the negativity right here. It says, some of the game's biggest whiffs are in the combat. Every character has around 50 different moves they can use in battle, and at first it seems like there could be depth. Some attacks apply status effects, so they're good to weave in, while others are powerful strikes that destroy sections of your stamina bar, so it's best to save them for powerful enemies. The main problem with the combat abilities is that none of the enemies give you any reason to respond in any particular way. They all have different attacks that you need to avoid, but the best way to fight every monster is to hit it with strong attacks as fast as you can. The variety of techniques quickly becomes a novelty. Variety for the sake of variety. So that could be just a design flaw, of course, them trying to really get more casual players involved with this game, which could, of course, be a mistake. I've got to try it for myself, but yeah, I've heard that from several reviewers again. But overall, let's see what they scored the game right here. They go on to score a 2. I think this is a 2 out of 5. And they say for the positives, cool gear system that lets you farm for specific set bonuses, fighting dragons with Drizzt and the companions of Hall, flashy combo animations. And then on the native side of things, nearly unplayable online thanks to bad netcode, unforgivable control choices that ruin the flow of combat, dull, lifeless enemies that don't require any technique. Again, that's another review stating the AI in particular has a lot to be desired, so it's kind of a bummer to hear that. We'll see. I got to get my hands on this game. My opinion is try the game for yourself. If you go to the Metacritic score again, we're seeing that 63 rating, but it always reminds me of what happened with Biomutant in that it was horribly received. I remember playing it pre-release, before it released, and I was like, I think people will really enjoy this game. And I was really shocked to see the negativity, such harshness towards Biomutant because it was developed by a team of 20. But anyway, I wanted to highlight some of your comments from my previous video about Dark Alliance. Let's do this. This was my video right here. It is Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance new info blowout. Play the demo now and for free. And let's see what you guys had to say. Arthur says, game is okay, nothing to write home about, playing the demo. Ben Jamon says, I just found out the old one is on PS4. Dude, I loved this game. I stayed up until 5 many nights playing this game. Hell yes. Brent says, dude, the books are so good. Read them, and the Cleric Quintet. I'll have to definitely check that out. You guys have have me so interested in these books. Darren says the mage should have definitely made the starting team D&D and no Merlin. How sway? He's going to be part of a DLC plan. And yeah, I was wondering the same thing. DeadMeme69 says, I've already got this game pre-installed through Game Pass. Depending on which country you live in, it will be different on Game Pass. I live in the US, so I was able to download it. Yeah, there's a pre-download, but unlike some games, where you can like switch to New Zealand and get access to the game a day early, you can't with this one, which is definitely a bummer. But yeah, there are some things that you guys had to say about my most recent Dungeons and Dragons video. But let me know if you guys are going to be trying this one at least through Game Pass. I know I am for sure. I'll probably play through all of it. We'll see how the co-op holds up. If the co-op is bad, that's going to really irritate me because I've already been through that with Outriders, and I ended up just honestly playing that in single player. So we'll see what happens with this one. Stay tuned for more news and updates about Dark Alliance and, of course, more open world gaming goodness. And I will see you all next time. Take care.